Yes, sir, people. Welcome to another Toronto Hoop Talk live stream. I think this is the first stream I've done in a long time that's not a watch along. This is not about a basketball game. This is about a basketball trade. A big trade happened. Unfortunately, I was driving home from being out of town when the trade happened. Typically, how I want to do things is I want to get to this stuff immediately. I want to react immediately. While you guys wait for all your favorite podcasters to record their podcasts, all your favorite writers to write their articles, I want to be here in the moment, giving you guys real reactions. Unfortunately, I got to get to it right now. But OG Anunoby, Precious Achiuwa, Malachi Flynn, they are not Raptors anymore. They're going to New York for Immanuel Quickley and RJ Barrett. I don't have to put the trade details on the stream because I really don't think you guys would be here if you guys didn't already know what happened. That being said, there's a lot of things we have to get to. We're going to get to what we're losing with the players we traded. We're going to get to what we're gaining in the players that we got. We're going to get to the financial implication of it all. And I'm going to dust my shoulders off a little bit because this trade falls in line with the format of the trade that I talked about the Raptors needing. In July, I dropped a live stream. I believe in June, I dropped like a short 8-minute video, but I have extensively talked about the fact that the Raptors need to get talent in the trades. When we dismantle this team, this bullshit ass team that is insufferable sometimes to watch, we need to get back talent. We don't need random draft picks. We don't need cap relief. We need talent. And that's what we did. We got talent. We got a point guard that I think is going to grow into somebody that we keep for a long time. As long as he wants to be here, I think Immanuel Quickley will be a Raptor for a long time. I think he suits Scotty Barnes really, really well as a teammate. I think he's the kind of a player that has a lot more upside than what we've seen so far, because at the end of the day, the Knicks have randomly been a win now organization since Immanuel Quickley has been on that team. So he's been behind the likes of a Jalen Brunson for 2 years now, for his third and fourth year. You know, the two big years where a player is supposed to really come into their own, he's had to be stuck behind Jalen Brunson. But that won't happen in Toronto. Immanuel Quickley will come to Toronto and be the point guard for 35 minutes a night for the rest of the year. As long as he's healthy, he will be playing a lot of minutes. He's exactly the kind of point guard that you want besides Scotty Barnes, because he's going to suit Scotty Barnes as an off the ball player when Scotty has the ball as the point forward, but he will also be able to be the point guard that we need when Scotty doesn't have the ball. Like, you know, the same way how there's a dynamic that exists between Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic where both can play on and off the ball. Neither player is compromised when they're off the ball, and neither player is like unreasonably better when they're on the ball. I think a similar dynamic could exist between an Immanuel Quickley and a Scotty Barnes, right? Two players that can both be on the ball, they can both be off the ball, they can learn to play with play as teammates, and that's the thing that I think the Raptors should be excited about. To move past Immanuel Quickley, we have RJ Barrett. Now, my thing with RJ Barrett is that I personally am not like that excited about RJ Barrett. And the reason is because I think he's more of a floor player and not quite a ceiling player. Here's what I mean by that. I think as a floor of the guy is going to show up and sleepwalk into 15 points a night, that's a good thing to have. I don't know if I'm as enamored with RJ Barrett's upside, because he doesn't strike me as a player that's going to live up to his potential. The potential is really high. The guy was at Montverde Academy. The guy was actually, what was he at, Kentucky? The guy was at elite basketball institutions for a long time. The potential is really high. I just don't get the vibe he's going to be a guy that reaches that potential. However, if you look at what we are right now, the Raptors have a lot of players that just might fuck around, show up, and score nothing. Like, right? You look at prior to the trade, right? OG, Scotty, Pascal, and OG sometimes, right? Those are the players you can bank on showing up and scoring points, right? Dennis might show up and just not score. Gary might show up and just not score. Jakob Poeltl might not score. We have a lot of players on this team that sometimes just don't score the basketball. So to get RJ Barrett, I look at that as he's going to be the guy that you can count on RJ to give you 15. And that's just something that's money in the bank. You know, Scotty is turning into a guy where you can count on him to get you like 18. um Immanuel Quickley, I think somebody who hasn't had a bunch of opportunities in his career to play 35 minutes. I think when he gets consistent minutes, he's going to be a guy you can bank on to get something like 18. We're starting to compile a team that the floor is a little bit higher than this team, because man, this team has had some very low lows. Like, that's the most frustrating part. We've had our games here and there, right? We beat Milwaukee full strength. We had a great game against a good Dallas team. The highs sometimes are there. The problem with the team prior to this deal is the floor was just so low. The floor was underground. It was so bad. I think the floor got a little bit higher with this team. And RJ Barrett is a big part of that. RJ Barrett will be somebody who, again, he's a high floor player. And I think there's the small possibility that maybe being home, playing for the Canadian team, is something that kicks him into a different gear in terms of realizing his potential. Because again, this is a guy who he'll sleepwalk into 15 points, right? The upside in terms of him reaching his potential is to be a guy who's pushing 25. So, I don't think that's there's a high likelihood that it happens, but it is possible. So to get, the upside of a Quickley, which I think is huge, to get the upside of RJ Barrett, which is huge, but I think unlikely. And then to get out of the players that we got out of. Now, this is the other thing of what I want to talk about, right? I talked about what we've gotten. Let's talk about what's walking out the door. I'm going to get to OG last, because Malachi Flynn, what have we gotten out of? A situation that just didn't work. That's all. It just did not work. I don't know if he's going to have an NBA career for too much longer. I don't know whose fault that is, but it did not work. You got to go. He's a free agent after the year. What's the point? You got to go. Precious Achiuwa is a player that is very, very, very well suited to be the kind of guy that gets a contract in free agency that ages poorly, because Precious is a player that you look at certain parts of what he's got going on and you can see potential. But if you just watch the guy play basketball, it just doesn't look good. So here's what I mean by that, right? He's an athletic guy, strong-ish, good measurables in terms of wingspan, height, right? You see all these raw traits and you think, okay, cool, we got something. Do you watch him play? Bad touch, bad decision making. I shouldn't even have to say much more. Unreliable shooting. Like, you see all these things where for my thing with Precious was the potential is something I lost sight of, because I think that the bad stuff I just saw way too much of. But the thing in the NBA is that bad contracts happen a lot, and there's a formula for how a bad contract happens. And in my opinion, the formula is you got a player that hasn't played that well, but they have potential. Really, what potential becomes is an excuse for playing bad. And I think that Precious Achiuwa, he might get a contract that some a team regrets giving him. So I think we got out of a bad contract situation in Precious. And boy, if you want to talk about a bad contract situation, I think a storm is brewing with OG. Because we saw what happened with Fred VanVleet. When you're one of the better players in free agency, and there's not that many options in free agency, and somebody has money to spend and they got to spend it. I look at a team like Detroit, and I think Detroit is perfectly in line to do what the Rockets did with Fred VanVleet. I think Detroit's going to look at their situation and say, look, we got a bunch of young talent, but we need a babysitter. We need a big brother. We need to look at this like the Big Brothers Big Sisters program. We need to get a big brother for some of these young players, because that's basically what Houston did with Fred VanVleet. I think Detroit's going to look to do that. I think when they look around, whoever they find, they're going to throw an irresponsible amount of money to that player. And I think there's a chance that could have been an OG or a Pascal. So I look at these contract situations like the Fred VanVleet contract situation was bad. We just didn't know it. But with the information that you get when you learn things and you get to see more and you're exposed to what happens, like, okay, I didn't expect what happened with Fred VanVleet, but now I know what to look for. And when with that new information, I look at the Pistons, I look at their salary situation, I look at where they're at as a team, and I look at the free agents, and I think Pascal and OG might be in line to be that next player that just gets stupid money in free agency from a team that just needs a guy. So to avoid the OG contract situation is a positive, given the fact that we're not a team that it makes sense to pay him big money for. We don't need OG Anunoby right now. And this is not about OG not being good enough or not being good. I think OG is awesome. I think he's going to be great in New York. I think he's an awesome fit for them. I think he's a very unique player. I think he's very good at very important things in basketball. But you don't start a rebuild with OG, because when you pay that kind of a guy big money, you can't afford to get the other things you have to have, because you have to have a superstar. You have to have a number two. I don't think OG is either. So you don't start spending big money on OG. He had to go, unfortunately. And I think we got pretty damn good return. So we talked about what the Raptors got. We talked about what we lost. I'm gonna pull up the finances right now. We're gonna get into some of the contract stuff. While I'm pulling that up, people, shout out to everybody watching live right now. Shout out to everybody who's gonna watch this on replay after the fact. I appreciate your viewership and your support. If you appreciate the content that we put out here, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. The content is free, but I'm always looking to accept payment in the form of engagement, because engagement is what makes YouTube channels get bigger. All right, I got the stuff I'm looking for. Let me get it on screen right now. All right, so this, man, I got NFL stuff open. NFL stream later, people. Emotion football, check it out. But yeah, so this is the Raptors contract situation. Now, the big thing is, with RJ Barrett's money, is that he's locked up for the next 3 years at a very reasonable price. We are approaching max salary slots, getting to around 45, 46 mil a year for like standard guys, not even super max guys or like vets with a bunch of years in the NBA. So to get RJ Barrett at this price point is very good, but to get him at this price point for that long is good. We don't have to worry about paying him. And any upside that we get, we know that, like, we know by the time 2028 happens that he's either that guy or he's not. We're going to pay him for what he is. We won't run the risk of RJ Barrett finishes the year this year really hot, and then we have to pay him all of a sudden, but it was just a flash in the pan. It was just a solid half a year. We don't run into that issue. And then the other thing is, where's IQ? IQ is he's over here. IQ is a restricted free agent. The big thing there is that, like, we probably won't get bullied into giving him a crazy contract, because, again, like, we, as a restricted free agent, teams have to run the deal by us. Now, mind you, I think he's going to have a great finish to the year. I think he's going to develop with all the minutes he's going to get. I think he's going to get a good deal. Like, I think he might touch 30 mil a year. But, like, we don't really have to worry about, like, what could happen with a Pascal or OG, because he's a restricted free agent. But, yeah, the big thing now is that when we look at the offseason, and I think Pascal is going to get traded next, but the free agents we're looking at are guys like Gary Trent, Thad Young, Otto Porter Jr., Garrett Temple, and the two ways, right? So that we're not going to be put in a position where we have to spend big money for the most part, other than IQ. And assuming we get Pascal on the books for similar kinds of assets, we won't get bullied into paying people big money for the kind of team that we've been watching, because that's the risk we were running by letting OG and Pascal get to free agency. But to look at some numbers real quick. So for you guys that aren't familiar with how this works, basically the last NBA CBA made it so that the cap can only jump 10% each year. So we can actually anticipate what the cap is going to be for an extended period of time now. A bunch of revenue is going to enter the NBA, because I think a TV deal is coming up. So it's guaranteed that 10% cap gets hit over time. So we can actually look at the numbers and we can see 142, 156, 171, 189. Those numbers are fairly, like, ironclad. I don't want to get too nitty gritty, because I'm going to, like, commit a whole stream to looking at the numbers. But basically, keep this number of 142 in mind. The active roster cap hit is at 90, right? So assuming, again, Pascal's gone, maybe we'll have to pay somebody that we get for him. but we are about 50 mil under the cap. IQ here probably gets 30. Otto Porter and Thad Young are gone. Gary Trent, honestly, if anything, he gets like 20. So that gets us to around the salary cap. Maybe we have to pay a guy another 20, but we're nowhere close to the luxury tax. And then the offseason after that, we're in a position where we have to pay Scotty Barnes, and I don't think anybody else as of now, right? But by the time we have to pay Scotty Barnes, Dennis Schroeder's coming off the books, Chris Boucher's coming off the books. Again, I don't want to get too detailed from in the financial side of things because I'm going to dedicate a whole stream to that. I've dedicated whole streams and whole videos in the past to finances. I love talking about this stuff, but that'll be a thing. You guys definitely look out for that. But just to generally give an overview of where we're at financially, the burden is not quite there anymore to just feel like you have to pay players because otherwise you're losing them for nothing. We're gonna not be crazy tied uptight up against the hard cap, and we're gonna have flexibility because our assets are gonna be movable. Like, I love OG, but if OG is on a max deal, I actually don't know how movable that deal is, right? I love Pascal. Pascal gets a lot of slander. In my opinion, if you max him out all the way, he's only tradable for a couple more years. Got some comments in here. Joel says Knicks got fleeced. Shout out Joel. That's a Heat fan, by the way. So that's a neutral standpoint. This is not homerism. This is not homerism. This is Nico, guy that's been on the stream. For the people that are watching, love this trade for us. Celebrating Mom's B-Day, sending love. Those subscribe, everyone. Hey, happy birthday to Nico's mom. Shout out to her. You enjoy your time, bro. We'll catch up for sure. We got a lot to talk about. Look, the energy's been low about this streaming. I haven't wanted to be here in front of the people, but this trade put the battery in my back. And that's what it is, people. I don't show up here and give you guys bullshit. If I don't feel like talking about the Raptors, I don't just sleepwalk through streams. I just don't show up. If I'm here, it's because I really want to be. It's time for Keegan Murray, bro. If we get Keegan Murray. Yo, here's the thing, if we get Keegan Murray, right, we can low-key do some Vision 6-9 shit, but with actual people that can kind of shoot the three. Bro, it could be actually so good. But shout out to everybody in the chat. For you guys that don't know, this is an interactive live stream. I'm sure some of you guys are new. You can get active in the chat and not just be an audience member, but a part of the show, just like everybody in the chat is right now. But shout out to everyone, man. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This is what it is, people. It's a big trade. It's a big trade. I want to look at some ages real quick. What's it called? Isaac Keegan is fireworks, bro. That is beautiful. That is a beautiful setup right there. What's it called? Sorry, I'm just gonna get this through. Explore Chord. This is Spotrack. So I will. This is the URL. Actually, I lied. But yeah, this is the website. Spotrack. It's blurry on your side. That sucks. Okay, I'll get it off the screen then. Spotrack, yeah, they have every team. Damn, that's our first comment from Twitter that popped up. People can comment on Twitter. Hey, if you're commenting on Twitter right now, man, make sure you head to YouTube and subscribe to me there. Because at the end of the day, that's where they really pay for this shit. But yeah. Back to this, man. RJ, IQ, Scott Keegan is fireworks. Yeah, so this is the thing, bro. With IQ, IQ is the point guard that has point guard skills, but low-key can fit the Vision 6-9 kind of a style of play, right? In terms of the fact that he's not like a slouch defensively. He's got the size for it. He's not a mismatch the way Fred VanVleet was and the way Dennis Schroeder is in a major way, right? Bro, Keegan can shoot. RJ, it's a respectable shot. It's not particularly good, but it's better than a guy like Pascal. Scotty, bro, you see what Scotty is doing. He just hit 7 threes yesterday. What's good, Rio? One of my favorite chat members. What's going on, bro? Rio, what are your thoughts? I'm excited. Also, this was big for Masai on a personal level. I think he shows he can put his foot down. Oh, Nico, I actually completely forgot about the Masai angle on this. Thank you for bringing this up. He can put his foot down. OG and Precious was his boys, 100%. But also, you know what this shows me for Masai? It shows me that he learned his lesson. You frame it as putting his foot down, and I think that's valid, and it's definitely the case. But to me, I think bailing on this was more like, because my fear was is that he was too bought in. He was too bought into his vision. He was too locked into like his thoughts on how his vision for the team was going to be. And my whole thing was his plan failed, which is fine because everybody makes mistakes, right? And specifically, he's building a team from the ground up for the first time. He walked into Denver when they had Carmelo Anthony. He flipped Carmelo for a damn near, shout out the Knicks, by the way. Masai and fleecing the Knicks, it's a trend. He damn near traded for a 56 win team in one trade, right? That wasn't building from the ground up. He stepped into Toronto. He wanted to tear the team down and build from the ground up, but he traded Rudy Gay for a 4 seed. That happened, right? Like Masai shows up places, he makes a trade, and shit just pops off. He's never had to build from the ground up before. This is his first time building from the ground up, and he failed miserably, which happens when somebody does something for the first time, right? Building from the ground up is not trying to turn a 5 seed into a championship team, right? Which is basically what he did in Toronto. It's a different task. He did something for the first time. He failed. My thing was, if you learn from your failures, I still believe in you. If you don't learn from your failures and you just stay stubborn and you just keep trying the same things that aren't working, that's when I know that you have to go. So that's my like stance on this kind of a thing. It's big from a Masai standpoint because it's him bailing. It's him bailing on the stuff that wasn't working. And now I believe that he's looking at things from a more neutral standpoint. And that's what I'm excited about. Right. And the other thing is like, it kind of felt like Masai lost his fastball because I can't remember the last like classic Masai move, right? I think Scotty Barnes would be the last classic Masai move where it's like, wait, what is he cooking? And then actually you find out he's cooking something special. That's what happens with Masai a lot. Bro, Gravis Vasquez for basically Norman Powell and OG Anunoby, that was a crazy move, right? Even small stuff. John Salmons for Lou Williams, which ended up basically giving us like the vision to get a guy like a Corey Joseph afterwards. Like there's been a lot of moves that have worked out for Masai. It felt like he hadn't had one of those moves in a while. But I think he's back. Like, I think his washed era, it might be over. And look, like that was always the debate. The debate is like whether he's cooked. And like if he never bounced back from his mistakes, he would have been cooked. But I mean, people also should be, it's not even like people should be allowed to make a mistake. Mistakes are a part of learning. Mistakes are a part of figuring out how to do some shit. Masai didn't Masai didn't create the championship team without making mistakes. Masai created a team that got swept by the Wizards. That was a failure. He learned from the failure and created a championship team. Masai, like, look at this era of the Raptors as his swept by the Wizards era. It happened. I'm hoping he learned from it and he's going to learn how to build from the ground up better than he's done so far. But I think this is an awesome start. I think IQ, and people don't forget, I think we get the Pistons second round pick out of this. I think Detroit. I think the Knicks had the Pistons second round pick, and we get it. And look, let's be real. We're about to watch the Pistons in about half an hour. That's pick number 31. Oh, that's what it is. Hey, he said it just as I was saying. That's pick number 31. So we're getting what should be 3 good young pieces, right? We still need a center. Pirtle ain't it. Quiet is kept, right? What's happened with Christian Coloco is actually super disappointing. Like very, very, very disappointing. Because imagine if while all this was happening, we were developing a rotation caliber center, right? Forget him being like a game changer and a starter, bro. But even if we were developing somebody who you could say this guy's a solid backup center, things would probably look a little bit more hopeful after a trade like this, right? We would look at the team and see more young pieces. But man, we just got 3 young pieces for, again, Achiuwa, a player that a lot of people were fed up with. Malachi Flynn, another player a lot of people were fed up with. And OG Anunoby, a guy that was going to cost us an insane amount of money. But yeah, we 100% do still need a center. That is real. I'm looking at Pascal Siakam. That's the next shoe that what the hell is the expression? The next shoe that has to fall, the foot that has to fall. I don't know these things. But that's the next move that's gonna happen. It's interesting to think about what we get from that trade. Okay, actually, this is a great time to get to my last point. My last point was to pat myself on the back, was to dust my shoulder off, and really talk about the videos I made back in June and July about how to go about rebuilding the team, right? And my whole thing is that I wanted to see a proactive rebuild, and what I mean by that is that don't trade for draft picks in the next 2-3 years and make it like okay, we'll see what happens in 2-3 years. And, maybe you might get a great player out of those picks. Maybe you won't. Don't do that. I think that's high key bullshit. Don't trade players for cap relief and like expiring deals to get a bunch of money and then sell me on the idea that you will spend money. I high key think that's bullshit. The thing I wanted to see was I wanted to see the Raptors look at the league, evaluate the young talent, and find the talent, right? You can't make a Halliburton trade because that trade was so wild that I don't think it'll happen again for a long time because people are going to be careful about that. But the way the Pacers turned their player that they felt like they had to trade into the player, right? You trade a Sabonis for a draft pick and you're like, well, hopefully we can get a Halliburton with this draft pick. Or you trade Sabonis for cap space and you're like, hopefully we get a Halliburton with that cap space. But they went and just got the player. And that's what I wanted to see. And that's what I felt like we needed from a cap standpoint. And that's what we did. We traded for the piece, right? If you trade OG for a couple firsts, you sit there with the first and be like, well, I hope we could get a Quickley or RJ Barrett with these picks, right? We don't have to hope that the money will turn into the talent. We don't have to hope that the draft pick turns into the talent because we just got the talent. And I think that when I look at a Pascal as an asset, right, that has to be the move. Pascal, whatever happens with him, it has to become, I want to see him traded for the talent. So when we talk about we still need a center, I look at the team and I'm wondering now, what is the next thing we need to tackle? What is the next piece we have to be proactive about and look for? It could be, I think we're going to look at IQ as a long-term point guard. We're going to look at Scotty as obviously a long-term point forward. I think we're going to look at RJ as a long-term like 2/3. So that leaves one forward spot and one and the center spot for the long-term vision. We need to get one of them back for Pascal. That's actually probably a good streaming concept to go through all the different options in the league. That is probably coming soon, people. All the ideas are coming out now that this trade happened. I'm so happy this happened, by the way. Like creatively, as a creator, I felt so like whatever the writer's block equivalent for content creators is with this team, because I just had nothing to say. I was just sick of this shit. But I'm back now, people. So yeah, that's what it is. I wanted to see the Raptors go get the talent in the trade. Not just things that hopefully may turn into talent. Go get the talent. They did it. I want to see it again with Pascal. To get to some of these comments, all the best for Precious and Flynn as well as OG in New York. 100%, man. 100%. No issues. No issues at all. I love OG. I'll still be an OG fan. All the best for him when they're not playing the Raptors. But yeah. Excited for a second round pick. Excited for the 31st overall pick. You don't have to look too deep into it. Also, quiet is kept. Hold on. This might be a thing. I'm going to research this real quick, but I'm quite sure there's a very good history of the 31st and 32nd overall picks, like going as far as like the last like 4 or 5 years in the NBA draft. But yeah, man, it's a high pick. It's a high pick. I think I'm frozen on this screen. Maybe not. Let me see. Extend Pascal. So the thing about extend Pascal, is this moving? I'm frozen. Okay, this will unfreeze at some point and then I'll be back. But basically extend Pascal. Bro, here's the thing. If extending Pascal helps us trade him and get more out of him, that'd be great. But just keeping Pascal, paying him and then him not being a trade asset, bro, I don't know. I don't know exactly if I love that vision, bro. I think we need to either get Pascal on an advantageous contract for us, or get some good pieces out of him. We got here. I heard that OG agreed to take less from the Knicks. I do not know if this is true. Perhaps because OG would get more exposure with the Knicks. Bro, I don't know if it's necessarily that. But I think with him. Oh, okay, hold up. I think I'm back. Man, I hate that happens. But yeah, I was talking about this here. I heard OG agreed to take less from the Knicks. I don't know if this is true, perhaps because OG will get more exposure to the Knicks. Nah, so I think the guy who runs the Knicks, who used to be an agent, Leon Rose or something, I think he's tapped in with OG's agents. I heard something like that. But nonetheless, right? That's not in our control. That has nothing to do with me. I really don't care. We didn't get we wouldn't have gotten those kind of privileges. So that's not a me thing. If that happened, good for the Knicks, good for OG, I guess. But yeah. Can we get Mitchell Robinson for Pirtle? Bro, I don't think they'd want to trade Mitchell Robinson. Immanuel, we have Maxi at home quickly. This is fire. This is amazing. I love this. I've seen the Maxi comps, and obviously they both went to Kentucky, but bro, like I'm excited because the thing about Maxi, right? We saw promise from Maxi early, and then I feel like when it was time to take the leap, James Harden arrived, and I don't think James Harden arriving meant that Maxi just couldn't do anything, but it would have made it harder for him to like actually take that jump, right? Immanuel Quickley quietly has had a similar like arc because he showed a lot of promise early, but then they got Brunson. Brunson is to Quickley what James Harden was to Maxi. So now, he's finally out of the shadow of Brunson. He's gonna, like I said, he's gonna get 35 minutes a night as long as he's healthy. That's not something he's had yet in his NBA career for a long time. So he's gonna get more minutes than ever, more experience than ever. His growth is going to be accelerated. Shout out Tom Graham. Tom, actually, I've been meaning to ask you randomly before I get to your comment. I feel like I was listening to the Raptors show, like the podcast with Will Liu and Alex Wong, and they shouted out like, "Oh, it's like our biggest listener from Australia, X amount of hours, Tom Graham." And I was like, wait a second. I know a Tom Graham from Australia. Was that you? Also, shout out to you. We still got to get you on the channel. I'd love to have that happen. With the roster spot now open, do you think the Raptors signed one of the two-way guys, signed someone else, or left open if Siakam is traded for a 2-for-1 scenario? Thoughts? Let me look real quick at the roster for a second. Because the two ways are Marquise, Ron Harper, and Javon Freeman Liberty. Man, hell no. I don't want to see any of them get that last spot. And just because I haven't seen enough. Ron Harper Jr., I still don't know anything about that guy's game. I've watched a decent amount of him in Summer League. I watched him play some garbage time minutes. I have no idea what his game is. Marquise Noel, I think what he needs is the G League. And I would say the same thing for JFL. So it's not that. I wouldn't sign a free agent. I would leave it open until we actually need it, which would be for a trade or after the deadline in the buyout market. But I'm good. We can just sit tight. We don't have to do a whole lot. But unlocking IQ's value is going to be very interesting. Might have a shooting bump like Desmond Bane had with Darko. Okay, so this is really this is where Darko, I think, this is where our expectations should rise. I'm about to go on a Darko tangent. I just realized. My thing is I think a lot of criticism has come to Darko for this year, right? But I don't think the purpose of Darko, or even I don't think the purpose of Darko was to get the best out of a bad roster, because that makes no sense. If the point is to get the best out of a bad roster, you either keep a Nick Nurse or you go and look for an experienced coach who has that kind of a resume, right? To me, you don't hire a rookie coach with a history of development to make the most out of a shitty team. Unfortunately, he just had to bide some time and just kill some time before this kind of a move happened, dealing with that bad team. Now, this is the purpose of Darko. Like, this is where now I didn't, yeah, he deserves some criticism, but I wasn't particularly fussed with the fact that he couldn't get a lot out of a team that Nick Nurse couldn't get a lot out of. But now we have young pieces that need development. Now the expectation rises with Darko. Now it's time we can start to get really critical with Darko if the young pieces don't develop. I think we've entered a space now where it's fair to turn the attention towards Darko in a meaningful way. If we were going to sit here and say that Darko shouldn't be the coach of the Raptors because he couldn't get more out of a team than Nick Nurse, I think that's a little bit silly, me personally. So his calling card is supposed to be development. Let's see it, right? He's got IQ. He's got RJ. RJ is a player that has immense potential. I don't think people think he's anything close to his ceiling as a player. Let's see what you can do. IQ, a player that has shown a lot of promise but hasn't really been given a lot of opportunities. Let's see it, right? Now you have a little bit more shooting. Let's see it, because if you look at it this way, right? If you look at the rotation, it lost OG and Precious, and it's got IQ and Barrett. You've upgraded the shooting because Barrett's a better shooter than Precious Achiuwa, hands down, and IQ is a different kind of shooter than OG, right? Because if you look at it right now, like the catch and shoot threes that OG gave us, like it's looking like Scotty's dropping right into that role. Like it looks like Scotty's going to be able to hit those catch and shoot threes, and he has more upside for off the dribble stuff. So to add a different kind of a 3-point shooter, a guy who's a little bit more off the dribble, who is a little bit more of a movement shooter, a guy who can to add different kinds of threes, we're a better 3-point shooting team now. I think now it's fair to really now the evaluations of Darko will, I think, lead to meaningful conclusions. I think the conclusions prior to this were a little bit meaningless. Oh my God, Darko can't get a lot out of a team, or can't get much out of a team that Nick Nurse couldn't get much out of. Like, oh, that's crazy. It's just I wasn't a fan. Hit that like button. As Rio says, man, hit that like button. If you're in here, if you're watching this after the fact on replay, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. The content is free, but I accept payment in the form of engagement. YouTube channels get bigger the more they're engaged with. So you guys very much control how big this channel gets. If you like what's happening here, feel free to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. That was you, Tom. Okay, that was you. Does this time of day typically work for you? Because what time is it over there now? Bro, it must be so late. We have to figure out a good time because I definitely want to hear from you, man. Especially now that happened. Because I remember, I know, we talked about getting you on the channel and it just never lined up. But it kind of was in the back of my mind. And then I heard that on the Raptors show and I'm like, damn. Yeah, the universe made sure this didn't slip my mind any longer. So great to see you in the chat, man. Definitely have to have you on the channel. Ron still hasn't developed in Banton getting minutes on Boston. But yo, Banton's getting he's getting scrub minutes on Boston. And look, I mean, maybe he does better with it at some point. Maybe he's going to develop, but it's not really there yet. Marquise is kind of killing it in the G League, but he needs more time. Crazy upside. 100%, bro. He needs the G League now. We don't need to rush the NBA thing with Marquise. Let him cook in the G League. Just don't even look at it. Just let it happen and then reevaluate in the offseason. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. It's 9:40 a.m. I'm on holidays now, so I'm available till back to work in February. Also about to have wow, congrats, Tom. That's awesome. That's crazy. I mean, happy. I'm assuming that you're just waiting around, so I'm happy that we can help you kill some time. In the meantime, congratulations. And look, it sounds like you won't be getting much sleep going forward. So if you're ever up at an odd time and we're live, feel free to hop on the link. 20 minutes till the game of the season against the Pistons. Bro, you don't understand. This is the biggest regular season game so far. We had an in-season tournament. I don't care. That was not as compelling as this. Detroit is on the verge of history for one of the worst teams ever in the history of sports. And the Raptors are at the center of it on a day that they made a trade, and they're 3 players short. This is so compelling. And for you guys that don't know, watch along on this channel at the start of the game. So I'm probably going to wrap this up in about 8 minutes, but everybody that's watching, make sure you tune back in for the second stream that will start roughly when the basketball game starts, because it's, again, that's the game of the season. I'm actually expecting that stream to quietly do numbers, because it's a bigger moment than any Raptors game we've done so far. So I'm excited for that for sure, for sure. When is the trade? Like, the trade happened. If you're asking about the deadline, it's what, like third week of February or something? I'm not sure. But yeah, the trade is done. They actually showed the jersey numbers too, man. RJ Barrett's wearing 9, IQ's wearing 5. Really, really exciting stuff, man. Really, really exciting stuff. But I'm gonna call it for this stream right now, I think. Yeah, I'm gonna call it for now. I'm gonna take a bit of a break before the game. Shout out to everybody that tapped in. This was my like off the cuff reaction to what's going on in the moment. I'm gonna let things rest a little bit. I'm gonna, think about this a little bit more, and we're definitely gonna talk about this stuff in the upcoming week, right? I want to do a stream where I talk exclusively about the financial impact of this. I want to do a stream where I talk about what should happen after this with Pascal. And I want to talk about further trade targets now that we kind of get a feel for what the Raptors are looking for. And I want to revisit some of my old videos, because you guys that might be new to the channel, or you guys that were here earlier and maybe didn't catch a lot of stuff, but I had some pretty spot on stuff about the trade market. And I there's a video I'm going to go back to. I think I put Quickley's name out there as a target. So I'm going to go back, comb through that, and see what I can find. Shout out to everybody tapped in. We have a special day going on today, because we got Tom Graham's about to have a baby. Nico is out there celebrating his mom's birthday. It's about to be New Year's. There's a whole lot of stuff going on. The fact that people are out here spending time with me with all this going on definitely means a lot to me, man. It's, something that keeps me wanting to do this, but I will be doing this again in about 20 minutes. Make sure everybody watching right now comes back. I will be here. Kenyon, bro, do you want to join for the game? Now Kenyon's here. The whole gang pulled up. Do you want to join for the game? Because I was about to end this right now and get back on for the game. So we can do that. If you want to hop on right now, you can. And we can maybe talk about this trade for a little bit more. But I can join now. Okay, cool. It's cool. Hop on. We'll run it a little bit deeper. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And look, the audience on this stream has been pretty decent. His family runs deep. Raptors run deeper. Facts. This is a whole different type of family. Yeah. Take your time. Take your time. We will be here. Kenny, I don't know how much you heard about what I had to say earlier or when you joined the stream, but there's a lot of different angles of what's worth talking about with this trade. But yeah, we'll cap it at about like 15 minutes, because I need a bit of a break before the stream for the game starts. But yeah, man. Oh, I was looking at something. Good day for Messiah FC. That's facts. Okay, so last year, pick number 31 and 32. I don't know who these guys are. Okay, I'm going to go a year before. It's a little bit too early for the 2023 draft class. Pick number 31 in 2022, Andrew Nembhard. Pick number 32, Caleb Houston. All right, let's go to the year before, 2021. Isaiah Todd and Jeremiah Robinson. Wait, who was Herbert Jones, number 35 overall. 2020. Desmond Bane was 30. Desmond Bane missed the range by about one pick. But Xavier Tillman was 35. The year before, Nick Claxton, 31. Damn, I can't lie. The history isn't as deep as it felt off memory. But the 1-2 years ago was really good. 2022, Nembhard and Caleb Houston, that's solid at 31 and 32. Like, there will be players for us to pick with that Detroit pick. Desmond Bane, that's another one. I think I missed it by a couple picks. You should take some time for the horror incoming. Bro, I fully expect the loss. especially with all the stuff that's up in the air. Players aren't gonna be there. Hey man, take your time, bro. You don't gotta worry about the updates or anything. Take your time. Um, yeah. But I'm fully expecting with the players missing, with the distraction that would be like guys having to leave. With Detroit literally backs against the wall. Like you know what it is. Like you talk about games, an elimination game in the playoffs being pressure. High key, this is more pressure. High key, this is way more pressure. Bro, you are going to be like, here's the thing, right? Athletes commit most of their lives to become professionals, right? And these guys are risking going down as some of the most ass professionals in the history of sports. Bro, like, I just don't know. Like, I think that'll probably like unlock a whole different kind of dog. Um, and we're gonna see that today. We're gonna see what Detroit has. I think we're gonna see like the best out of Cade Cunningham. Whatever the best is of Cade Cunningham today, we're probably gonna see that. There's probably some guys on that team that still, even with all this, aren't gonna be able to do much. But whatever Detroit has going for them, I think we're gonna see the highest level of it today. But yeah, not looking forward to the game. Honestly, but you know what it is? That trade feels like a win already, though. Like I feel like the Raptors are 1-0 today. On this day, December 30th, 2023. I feel like the Raptors are 1-0. So like if we take this L and we're 1-1, that's not that bad. You know, going 500 on a day isn't that bad. There's hella days where we go 0-0, we go 0-100. We go 0-100 a lot, you know. So 500 is not that bad of a day. But joining us is Kenyon from Basketball Rewind.
Yeah, how's it going?
Oh, it's going pretty solid, man.
You can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you. Your audio's
Perfect.
good. This is a no. Is RJ and IQ playing tonight against the
No, they
Pistons?
didn't make the physicals. I already asked Blake Murphy.
Damn,
Yeah.
they did not make it. This trade should have happened today. Fuck a month away. Bro, it did happen today. It just didn't happen in time. But okay. So here's the thing. The way I talked about it on the stream, I talked about what we gained, what we lost, um, some of the money impact, some of the looking at Masai after this, and then I talked to kind of about myself and some of the stuff I talked about in June. What about that do you want to get at?
So again, you talked about the money implications. You talked a little bit about Masai and the relationships it sound like, and I forget the third thing that you said. Just want to make sure.
Oh no, just like because I talked about what I wanted to see from the rebuild in like
Right.
June and July, and I kind of just revisited some of my talking points about I wanted like basically I wanted the rebuild to be proactive in that we're looking at the young talent that we can build a team around and just targeting that in trades as opposed to getting a draft pick and hoping you might get Quickley and RJ or freeing up cap space and hoping maybe you can sign Quickley and RJ, just getting Quickley and RJ in the trade, which is what I wanted to see. So I kind of just revisited that talking point. But yeah.
Right. So I think let's start there actually. So we have a guard issue or have had a guard issue for a while in terms of lacking one.
Yep.
And you have to identify your target. It seems like they had a target during the draft. Obviously, the draft went the way that it did. They didn't expect Grady to fall. They took Grady, but they did have a promise to Kobe Buffkin, who is, played a couple G League games, but hasn't, injuries have kept him out. So Atlanta trade didn't really materialize. And to be honest, I wasn't really in favor of that. I always have said, like, I like IQ. I think I might have even mentioned it to you a long time ago that I like IQ. Obviously, for me, I was always thinking, Fournier, IQ, and a pick or two, and I'm good. Okay. The fact that you got RJ as well under a good contract, I'm not saying
Great
RJ.
deal.
Yeah,
Great deal.
RJ is not necessarily the centerpiece of that deal. The centerpiece is really IQ.
Yes.
But RJ is a functional NBA starter, you could say. Yeah. I think that's a very fair assessment of where RJ is in his career at age 23 or 24.
Yeah. Young.
IQ is like the same, 23, 24. Like that, there's not really from an age standpoint. Like you now have a young core. You also include Grady in that. So now you have like four young players, all potentially blue chip prospects, who can really, help usher in a new era of Raptors basketball.
Yeah.
I have other thoughts, but I just wanted to know if you have thoughts on what I just said.
Yeah. So the point you made about IQ being the centerpiece, I agree with that because I look at him as like, okay, this is a guy that's going to be here for a long time, provided that we can get him under contract and he wants to be here. I think he makes sense for a team that's looking to build around a Scotty Barnes. The age profile definitely works. What else did I say? Something came up that I wanted to talk about, but it's slipping my mind right now. But yeah, Go ahead.
No, you're good. There's a lot in this trade. I'll say the first time I saw it pop up on the screen.
Hold on. Okay, I just thought
something
about
else
it.
happened.
No. I just realized what I wanted to talk
Bob.
about. No. We've seen enough today, and the game's
Raptors
about
got
to happen.
KD.
Jeez. So you're talking about like IQ and Fournier, right? And getting RJ. So I'm looking at RJ, and
this is better, by the way.
I'm not thinking about his ceiling because, to be completely honest, I don't think he's going to realize his ceiling. But I actually think he's kind of a high floor kind of a piece to have because like this guy can like sleepwalk into 12 points in an NBA game, right? Like he's a guy who's
you mean RJ?
RJ, yeah.
Dude, he's almost at the point where you could say he's getting 18 points a night.
But this
sometimes
is the thing,
pushing 20.
He's been getting like I looked at it his whole career aside from his rookie year, he's basically averaged about 18 points a game, and it's been pretty consistent. Like at its peak, I think was 20, at its worst was like 16, but 18 is the average, right? So it's like you're going to get a consistent level of production, and that is like a good piece to have. Like good teams need those guys as well. And like if you want to stop looking at like the long-term implications, like look at it right now. We had a team of so many guys that just may show up and score nothing. Like, outside of OG, Pascal, and Scotty, the whole team, there's a chance they're going to show up and score next to nothing. It's just good to get a couple pieces that aren't going to do that because he's giving you 18 on average. On a bad day, again, he's sleepwalking into 12, right? You're not going to get your 2 to 3 point games from him. So without looking at his ceiling and without looking at the long term, we benefit from RJ Barrett now, right? And I think that's an awesome thing to see because we are, I think, we've pivoted into being a watchable team. Right, I think with IQ and Scotty, like there's something to look for and watch. Because prior to this, I'm watching games and I'm like, look, I'm watching number 4. I'm looking to see what his game is like right now. I'm looking to maybe help inform my understanding of who he is as a player, so I can anticipate his future a little bit better. But I actually don't know if there was anything else I was interested in watching when the Raptors were on. Now there's more to watch. I want to see the same way I used to look at Scotty Barnes. I'm looking at Immanuel Quickley the same way. Like, let's evaluate. Let's see what we have here. Like, let's see what the future could look like. You talked about the age range. Grady's 20, Scotty's 22, RJ's 23, IQ's 24. I hope one day we could add Koloko to this core. I don't know, but I'm hoping we can add him to that core. But there's guys on this team, and we still there's still another like a domino that could fall with Pascal, and we might be adding to the core. The irony is like if we did that, we could also still probably trade Jakob Poeltl for something because Jakob Poeltl is very
January 5th.
Like,
January 5th is the date.
You looked the day up.
No, I didn't even look it up. I just know the day. Trust me. I've had this in my mind.
I thought you were watching a Raptors game one time and he did some bullshit and you were like, you know what? When can we trade this guy?
Well, listen, I don't put it on him, but just like, he hasn't.
He didn't put himself in this position. He literally didn't. Like, literally had no say.
He doesn't pay himself.
Exactly. But here's the thing, like Jakob Poeltl is not the kind of, we didn't put him on a deal that like stripped his value. Like he will have value. Those are two guys we could trade and
Yeah,
could get more for the core. So
I'll make a point, and like, so this is a shout out to someone, but they asked a question, and
yeah.
there's a point within the question, and it's beyond who's on my pod and stuff. You, by the way, I'm waiting for you to come swing through at some point, so we got
Hey,
to set that up soon.
yes, we will be
But
there.
yeah, like the thing is like you have uh like Pirtle, for example, and he asked a good question. He's like, has Pirtle outplayed any opponent that he's played on that on from his position this season, ever this season?
I think I could literally like one time comes to mind. I think he cooked one guy this year.
Who?
I forget who it is, but I'll look up I'll look up the
The
stat
fact that
sheet.
you can't even think about it, you're like, hold on, I gotta look this up. Right? Like
Nah,
that's a
no, no,
problem.
but here's the
That's
thing,
a
Kenyon.
problem,
I
man.
say it because I'm literally like absolutely certain it happened
Dude,
one time.
the
Like I
man
know
barely plays in the fourth quarters.
there is not an opportunity for there to be a second. It is 100% just one instance. I just remember one time looking at Jakob Poeltl, I'm like, oh,
And
he's
I'm not
good.
talking about him getting good numbers. Like he's had a couple games this season where he's had good numbers, but like where he's outplayed the other season.
The other player.
Like I haven't seen it, man. And shout out to your Dixon raid, who's coming through. So shout out to you guys for
I'll be
joining.
so honest with you. I actually don't know who that is, but shout out
Well,
to
hey
Dixon,
man,
whoever
shout
that
them out.
is. Shout out for the raid. I
Oh,
appreciate
see,
you.
Rio knows. Rio, it says there's one. Yeah, so there you
It
go.
was bro.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have
so
to look up who that is and
I'll let
see
you look
what.
it up. Yeah, but
Nah, 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 nah. It's all get rated. That's real aggressive, bro. But
yeah,
thank you.
it's I'm
That's
not
it.
going there. Yeah, but yeah, no, I think the thing is IQ gets you that young point guard that you were looking for long term, and it answers that question, which was a big lingering question. The thing is that like, do you see Scotty Barnes as a point guard or not? I think that he can learn guard skills. I think as a secondary playmaker and creator, he's probably 90th percentile. I'm just saying that right now. Like I would put him top 20 in the league for that skill set. But
Yeah,
like to make him be a good game manager where he's managing the game all the time, there's still so many skills that he needs to build. That's not a problem. He's young and he can and he
yeah.
probably will build those skills. But like I said, he's not quite there yet. And people are like, next year he's going to be a top 10 player. It's like that, like getting from where he was to this is a big leap. And I'm not putting any ceiling on him. I'm just saying like you can't expect that level of leap every single year. So just be mindful that like it may not happen, and that's okay. But he's taken a leap in a lot of different ways. Still some defensive concerns in terms of point of attack. So that's another thing where IQ is at least above average on that. But also on the flip side, he gives you a 92nd percentile offensive output, I think from catch and shoots, as well as from pull up from three. These are just off the top of my head, but a little bit above 40% from both. 40% from a pull up standpoint is that's big. That's really, really, really good, and you need that. Sorry if I'm rambling.
No, go. I had to look up Dixon Way. Shout out to Dixon Way. I remember, I believe he was in the chat when I did the stream with Demond, We Talk Hawks TV. If you appreciated what I do enough to send a raid,
I know
I'm sorry
Devon
I didn't
actually.
know of you.
Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome.
Demond is I talk to him on Twitter occasionally. Not gonna say my Twitter name, but I talk to him on Twitter.
Hilariously, like, just has a huge Twitter presence. Was not familiar until I followed him. This
Yeah,
guy is at the center of the Atlanta Hawks Twitter discussions.
for sure, for sure.
He's got haters.
Oh, he does. I'm not one of them. I'm not one of them.
Salute.
But yeah. The other thing is that this from a Pascal Siakam. So there's a lot of different angles to look at it. From a Pascal Siakam trade standpoint, you don't need to make that trade. So it kind of gives you a little bit more leverage. So if a team needs to, they like they have to beat this type of an offer. B, it's like, do we really need a guard? Probably not. I mean, I'd still take Kobe Buffkin, as I said, but like, from an Atlanta deal, it's like, what are you offering us, right? Like,
Yep.
I'm not taking DeAndre Hunter as like that's the selling piece in the deal anymore, because it's like, okay, I'm already, younger. Um, I'm gonna make one final Siakam point, so I don't seem like I'm being favoriting to him. But like, a lot of people are like, there's a timeline thing. It's funny because it's like you talk about the Indiana Pacers, right? And how old is Halliburton? Isn't he 1 year older than Scotty? I think
Yeah.
he's 23.
Yep.
If they end up trading for Pascal, they're not talking about no timeline.
Yeah. This is the thing, right? So the other part of like the concept of timelines with teams
Mhm.
is you have to have a roster that like is not all looking to get paid at the same time. So in this like hypothetical
Mhm.
approach of let's get a bunch of like 23-year-olds, cool. Then you have to pay them all at like 25, which isn't going to work, right?
Yeah.
Like it's fine to be paying Pascal, who's will I guess vacate a slot in the salary cap when it's time to pay another guy, right? Like that's actually good roster management.
Yeah, yeah, and like I said, if a deal for Pascal realizes, it should
Yeah.
happen within the next, you know, 6 hours. I guess slightly less than 6 hours. 5 minutes and 43. Sorry, 5 hours and
Yeah.
43. Whatever,
Yeah.
or 53, or 57, whatever. I don't care.
No,
That's
we
the
arrived at the right number
Yeah.
eventually. It took some time, but we got
But I'm excited about the thing. I'm not paying attention to the time, people. Um, but I think the important thing about it, right, is that you have a situation where you now can see, do the wings actually work together, right?
yeah.
You don't have another guy who's grumbling about touches and getting paid and stuff like that, because frankly, like OG was never going to get those touches here because Scotty, usurped him, which you want him to. And then I guess you want to switch to the game. I'm guessing soon, so I can.
At some point, but like I'm also not opposed to just like joining it in the second quarter.
Okay, cool. I mean,
It's
it is the
compelling
Pistons.
content. Yeah, no, but it's be real. It's
I'm just
compelling
kidding about
stuff.
the Pistons.
They're on the brink of history.
They are,
They're on the
one way
brink of
or
history.
another.
This is very compelling stuff.
One way or another.
Yup.
So yeah, and I think from Darko, like, he views the game pretty conventionally, with like,
Yeah.
you are a point guard or you aren't a point guard. With Scotty Barnes, that kind of breaks that convention, so he doesn't know how to use them. And this
Yeah.
kind of helps with that. Like, some of the things where it's like, I see Pirtle running high post action where he's like with the ball, and I'm like, you see, okay, it was so bad that like, was it the last game or the game before? I know last game it happened with Sam Hauser. Sam Hauser was like, so Pirtle's at the top of the key, right? And Sam Hauser is literally guarding him in
Yeah.
the circle.
Yeah. Yeah.
I tried to show this to people online, and people were like, I was against Philly, Philly game. I was like, yeah, this is how, like, this is the problem, right? It's one of the problems that we're having, right? And then someone was like, no, Embiid just doesn't know how to guard Yak. I'm like, no, that's not the problem. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm quite sure he knows how to guard.
I think Embiid's proven that he's enough of a dude at this point.
Yup.
Um, second
But
time all defense, and and 2-time all NBA. Apparently he doesn't know how to defend Jakob Poeltl, but okay. Those top 10 centers, man.
for real. For real. Yeah. There's a lot. So there's a lot. A couple of things you said that made me think of things, right? Okay, so first of all, the dynamic between IQ and Scotty, right? So I wanted to draw parallel. So here's the thing. I'm very careful about saying things in this space because like I wanted to talk about a dynamic that could possibly exist that reminds me of like Murray and Jokic. But if I said that, people would just yell at me about comparing them to Murray and Jokic. But in my
I've heard
head,
this before, yeah.
right, they're just gonna yell at me because of the players. But the thing is like I look at it like, okay, Murray, you are the point guard, but you are the point center. But because you are the point guard playing with a point center, you have to function as a point guard that can do other things. And this is how the relationship becomes like, that's how the relationship makes sense for the team when both players can play on the ball, both players are functional and beneficial to be off the ball. It's not just we are gonna just like it's not just that you're getting by off the ball, but you're excelling off the ball as well, right? If we can develop a dynamic where, okay, IQ, you are the point guard, but you're playing with a point forward. So inevitably, because that's the case, you're gonna have to learn to thrive off the ball because Scotty will be having the ball. Like that is just a part of who he's going to be as a basketball player. I think that kind of dynamic can be made. There's a bit of a blueprint for how it could be successful. It's successful because partly because of the dynamic, like majorly because they're supreme talents. But you can at least work with something that has a bit of proof of concept, which is something that I enjoy happening because there was zero proof of concept with what we were doing before.
Right.
So that feels good. The thing about Darko, right? I look at it like I also
he still
think
worries me, by the way. But yeah,
so
continue.
that's completely fair, right? But I think that now it makes sense. It makes more sense to actually put the spotlight on Darko because I think prior to this point, a lot of the evaluations with Darko, as justified as they could be in terms of being critical, like the purpose of like I don't think the purpose of Darko was to get the most out of a team that Nick Nurse couldn't get much out of, right? Because I also think if let's say Nick Nurse has to go, if the goal is to get the most out of that team, we're going to get somebody that's a veteran that has experience, that been there, done that, kind of can command the respect of the players differently, right? We got a rookie head coach whose calling card is supposed to be development. So now he's actually in that space. So now it's like, look, you kind of sucked a little bit sometimes with a veteran team. It is what it is. Rookie coach, you've never like whatever. Like it's not like all of a sudden you sweep that under the rug, but I don't think it's as meaningful as if he fails at developing young talent, because now this is why you're here.
So far, I would argue that he has, because Grady wasn't playing in the G League right now. Like he's not in the G League and he's not getting minutes.
Yeah,
that's a failure.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
It's like, can he at least get some G League minutes, man? Like I think he can get some G League minutes.
Now you can't run away from the fact that like there's more pieces. You can hide behind something being a one-off. There's no opportunity for him to hide anymore. The results have to happen now. Like, and I enjoy the fact that for me, like personally, like now, all eyes on Darko. Like all eyes on Darko. We're about to like flush this out and actually see what we have as a coach. And I think it'll happen quickly. No pun intended. But I think that's how we're gonna wrap the stream, people. The game is about to start. I'm gonna pivot to that. Like I said,
are you gonna keep the stream going and just pivot to the game, or are you starting a whole new stream?
I actually don't know. I think I want to start a whole new stream because I want to keep this one not too long.
5-hour stream. 5 hours.
Nah, no replay value with a 5-hour stream. I think people might watch this. People might watch this after. So yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna end this stream, people. I'm gonna start a new stream probably in about 10-15 minutes. Let this game, let the vibe of the game settle in a little bit before I hop back in. Everybody that's tuned in live right now, make sure you go ahead to that stream when it happens. We'll continue a lot of these conversations. If you're new to the live streams that I do during games, it's not like I'm necessarily doing commentary. We can branch off into any conversation you guys want to have. So make sure you guys tune back in. We're going to talk about the trade. Inevitably, that's going to come up. We're going to talk about the game. And yeah, that'll be in about 15 minutes, people. So I'll catch you guys around. Peace.